Okay, before starting with this session, I would like to know, do you guys have any experience on Spring Boot writing REST APIs? Anyone?
Uh,
Yes.
Actually, Spring Boot, it is a microservices, a small part of monolithic. We can divide a monolithic, large size of code into a small size of microservices.
Yes. So, do you guys have experience of writing the REST APIs? Consider I need to write a CRUD operation. I need to perform create, read, update, and delete operations by connecting with the database. So, would you guys be able to write it?
Yes.
Perfect. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can create that.
Okay. Okay, so let me share my screen. Let me know if you guys are able to see it. Okay, are you guys able to see my microservices PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. So before jumping into this microservices architecture, let's see what is exactly monolithic application. So consider you have one e-commerce application and there might be different modules like product, order, payment, billing, shipping, all this. So all these modules are wrapped inside one single application, and that application we call as a monolithic application. So all the things related to that particular application like UI, or you have business logic, or you have database related things, so all these things are tightly coupled. Okay, so when we have all these things wrapped inside one single unit, normally we need to deploy it together. So you deploy that single application, right? So all these things get deployed. So this is what we call as a monolithic application. Now there are some characteristics for this monolithic application. So you will have single database, right? You will have single code base. So you will have basically one repository where you are going to write your code. Again, inside that particular application, there will be different modules or different layers, which will be inside that module only. Then you are going to deploy the entire application as a single deployment, right? And if you see, if there is something which is failing inside that application, then your entire application will be broken. So what you need to do to fix that particular thing, you will need to break or bring down that application, fix that issue, and then you need to bring up that application, right? So for that particular time, your application will be down. So this is what actually monolithic application. Opposite to this, we have another architecture, which is we call as a microservices architecture. Now, this microservices is an architecture. Okay, so we decide how to design our application. So in microservices, normally what we do, we divide that large application into smaller services, and those services we call as a microservices. Okay, so normally we divide that entire application into independent services, and each service is responsible for a particular business use case or business functionality. Okay, for example, now consider again same application, e-commerce application. So in that e-commerce application, you can divide business functionalities like product related information can be clubbed into product service. That is going to be your separate application or small service. All the things related to order service can be clubbed into order service, or all the things related to payment can be clubbed into payment service. So all this will be your different services. Now in microservices, we can have separate database for each service. So we call it as database per service. So you don't need to share same database with multiple services. And now you have services which are designed for a specific business use case. So each service can be deployed independently. Consider you have to change something inside product service only, right? So what you will do, your order service, payment service will run as it is, but you will just modify or update the changes inside product service. So for that particular time, you will bring down that product service, update your code changes, and then bring up that service. So it is not going to impact the other services. Okay, so the characteristics are like loosely coupled services. So each service is independent. So they are loosely coupled. There is no tight coupling between these services. Independent deployments. So you have services which can be deployed independently because all these services are now different applications. Then you can, or your services can communicate with each other either asynchronously or synchronously. So synchronous communication is nothing but you send a request and wait for the response before sending the next request. And opposite to this, you have asynchronous communication. So asynchronous communication is like you send a request and don't wait for the response before sending the next request. So you can send the request continuously without waiting for the response. And this asynchronous communication can be achieved using tools like Kafka. And for synchronous communication, you can use tools like RestTemplate, Web Client, Fin Client. So these all tools are synchronous communications. And if you need to update or
Can you repeat it once more for the tools which are used for synchronous communication?
sorry,
Can you just repeat the last two lines? Synchronous and communication, how it happens. Just once.
okay. So synchronous communication is a communication where your client sends request or your one service sends request to another service and wait for the response from that service before sending the next request. Okay, so that is synchronous communication. So we can use a REST template, Fin client or web client for this kind of communication. So you basically execute an API and wait for the response before sending the next request. And in asynchronous communication, you don't need to wait for the response before sending the next request. So you can parallelly send multiple requests. So one request is sent and you don't need to wait for the response. So you can send the next request immediately. So that is asynchronous communication. Now to achieve this asynchronous communication, we can use tools like Kafka, where publishers will publish messages to your Kafka topic and consumers will consume those messages from a particular topic as and when required or as and when they are available. This is how microservices communicates with each other. Okay, is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you need to scale your application, so in case of monolithic, you need to scale your application. That becomes a bit challenging job because you need to scale entire application, but that is not the case when it comes to microservices. For example, if you see big billion days, so in big billion days it may happen that product service, which is basically used to search the products, so at that time there will be a lot of load, right? So you can easily scale only product service. So you can launch multiple instances of that product service and your load balancer will redirect those requests to each instance of that product service. So you can easily scale up that particular service. You don't need to scale the other services like order service, payment service, or any other. Okay, so if you have load, you can just scale up that service. Once you are done with the load or you are done with the big billion days, you can simply bring down that instances of that particular service. Okay, so basically microservices is just an architecture to design your applications. Now when we should use the monolithic application or when we should go for microservices application. Okay. Normally, if your application is small or you are just building a MVP, multi-valued product, so in that case, you can go for monolithic architecture. Okay. And if your application is a large application, there can be multiple teams who are working on that, and you need to scale up or scale down as and when required, then you can go ahead with microservices application. Okay. So this is basic difference between your monolithic application and microservices application. So monolithic and microservices, these are basically architectures or styles of your application design. So monolithic is something where all the things will be bundled inside one application. Microservices is nothing but you will have multiple services which will be designed for a particular business use case. And all these services will be independent services which can be developed and deployed independently. Okay, I hope this is clear about monolithic and microservice based application. Okay, now what we are going to do. So today we'll so in this master class we are going to implement this as a small e-commerce kind of application. Okay, so I'll just try to explain this architecture diagram and then we'll directly jump into coding part. Here, client, I'm going to use Postman, but it can be anything like any UI application which will be used to execute your APIs. So here we are going to use Postman. Then we will have API gateway. So your Postman is going to call the API gateway, and then at API gateway we are going to do some configurations which will identify which request should be redirected to which service. So as of now, we are going to use order service, but there can be multiple services like order product service, payment service, billing service, shipping service. So based on some configuration at API gateway, the request will be decided and routed to a service at the backend side. Now we'll have order service. Okay. So this order service will be designed to place the order, and this product service will be designed to handle product related information. Now at product service, what we are going to do, we are going to write simple few APIs like creating a product. Consider e-commerce application. So as a business use case, I need to create some products. Okay. So I'll write an API to create the product. And then if you want to see a list of products, you can design that API. Then we can design an API to find a product by ID. And once customer place order, so we should be able to update that product details. For example, consider I have 10 stocks for a particular product. If someone place that order, so he wants to buy 5 products. Okay, so I should be able to reduce the stock. So instead of 10, now when next customer comes, it should be able to see only 5 quantities. So that is the basic logic we are going to write at product service. At order service, we are going to place the order. So we'll write one API to place the order where we will take few details from user like which product you want to buy, what will be the quantity, we'll calculate the total amount, and then we'll write a REST APIs for this order service. Now this order service is going to call your product service using different ways. So when I will place the order, so here I'm going to mention the product ID. Okay, at order service. So at order service, I'll mention the product ID and I'll give a call from order service to product service to get the product details. If the product is available, then I should return that product. If the product is not available, I should say that the product is not available. Or if the quantity is not available, someone is placing, suppose there are 10 stocks in your product service or in your application, but someone is trying to place 100 quantities. So in that case, I should say that the stock is not sufficient. Or if someone is trying to place the order for 5 quantities, so I should be able to allow him to place the order. So I'll give a call from order service to product service. So initially we'll use the REST template as a synchronous communication when we'll place the order. And at that time, we will use hard-coded URLs. For example, let's consider my product service is running on localhost 8082. So in that case, I will use localhost colon 8082 when I call product service from order service. Okay. But now, if I change the deployment of product service, so in that case, again, my code will need a change, right? So in that case, I should not be able to modify the code at order service, because there can be multiple services or there can be multiple deployments for this product service and the URL might change. So in the next run, we'll use fin client and we'll use just product service name instead of hard-coded IPs or hard-coded URL, so that even if you change the deployment of product service or if you change the URL of product service, this order service doesn't need to restart or it doesn't need to update the code. Okay. And to achieve that, we are going to use service discovery. So at service discovery, we will register all these services so that you don't need to hard code the URLs. So basically at service discovery, what happens when you send a call to product service, you will have ID of this product service, basically name, which will be used to identify this product service. And from that service discovery, the order service can get the information about product service and give a call. So we'll see how this happens. Initially, we'll use REST template to see how services communicates, and then we'll use stream client without hard-coded information. We'll see how this order service gives a call to the product service. Okay, so again, if the product service is down, so I should be able to send some dummy response, or I should be able to handle that request. So in that case, we'll see how the fallback mechanism can be applied. Okay, so here again, I'm going to design some fallback mechanism which will give you some dummy response, and then we'll send that response back to the client if the product service is down. So we'll try for once, twice, thrice. If it doesn't happen, then we'll send a dummy response as a fallback mechanism. And if the service is up, then we'll send the actual data which is there in your database. So any question on this part? So this is the flow which we are going to implement. So here client is going to send the request to API gateway. Then that API gateway will route your request to your order service. Now order service needs the information about a product which we are going to buy or for which we are going to place the order. Now order service will find the product service using discovery service when we will use fin client. And initially, as we are going to use REST template with hard-coded URLs, we'll use the product service information. Now order service calls your product service. So we are going to use REST template and fin client to call the product service. We'll get the information from product service, and then order service will get the information from product service, and it will just complete the order and send the response back to the client.
What is an API gateway?
So API gateway is basically an entry point, okay, for all the client calls. Okay, so your client don't need to go directly to order service or product service. Client will just mention the IP address of your API gateway, and it will give a call to your API gateway. And that API gateway will decide that request needs to be routed to order service or product service or any other service. So when we'll implement that API gateway, we'll see what is exactly API gateway. But for now, today, what we are going to do, we are going to design these two services. One will be your order service and the other will be your product service. At product service, we'll write few APIs like to create a product or update the stock or get a list of products, and similar things will be there in order services. And tomorrow we'll see how, or even today, we'll, if time permits, we'll try to see how these services communicates with each other using REST template. And then tomorrow we'll design API gateway and service discovery where we will see how these services communicates without hard-coded URLs and what is the role of API gateway and service discovery. Okay, is this clear? Any doubt regarding this diagram? Yes, please. Dinesh.
Yes, sir. Here, for order service to product service communication, we will be using the thin client communication, right?
Yes.
And for like where we will be using that Apache Kafka.
Yeah. So for Apache Kafka, it will be a separate service. So we are not going to integrate it here. So I'll demonstrate you where that Apache Kafka can be used or how to set up that Apache Kafka on local. And then we'll design one publisher, we'll design one consumer, and we'll publish some messages to Apache Kafka topic, and the consumer will be able to consume those messages. As this is small application, so I decided it will not use here. We'll use Apache Kafka separately.
Okay, okay, got it. So there will be
Yeah.
other services we will be utilizing for that event Kafka communication. Right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Thank
So
you.
anyone else? Okay. Fine. So what we'll do now? We'll design the product service. So I might need help from you guys. If something goes wrong, you guys need to correct me. Okay. So can you see Spring Initializer? Okay. So here, this is basically used to design the Spring Boot application. You don't need to write the boilerplate code. You can just come here and create a Spring Boot application. So here you need to mention which build tool you are going to use. Here I'm going to use Maven, so I selected Maven. I'm going to use language as a Java because we are going to design it using Spring language Java. Then we'll use Spring Boot version. So I'll choose Spring Boot 3, 3.5.9. Okay, now you need to provide the project metadata. So you can mention the group, something like I am mentioning com.cloudtech. I'll mention the artifact as product service, which is basically your name of your jar or your application. You can provide the name, description, and you can provide the package name. So I'm going to mention package name as com.cloudtech. I'm going to this bundle this application into a jar. So I'll select jar if you want, or you can select the all. Then I'm going to use application.properties file to write my properties for this application. You can choose either properties or YML, and you can select the JDK version. So I'm going to use JDK 17. So I select JDK 17. Now, what all dependencies will be required for this application, you need to mention here. So you can add the dependencies. Now we are going to create a web application. I'll simple add web dependency. Now I'm going to use MySQL as a database. I'll use MySQL driver. Then we are going to use Spring Boot data JPA. So I'll use Spring data JPA. Now we'll use Lombok to avoid boilerplate codes like getter setters. So at least these dependencies will be required. Okay, so if there is something else, we'll add it later. But at least for now, I'll need these dependencies. And then I'll click on generate. Okay, so the product service is generated. I'll just extract it. And then I'll open this from, just give me a second. Yes, I'm opening it with IntelliJ. Okay, so I'll share my IntelliJ if it is not there. Let me know once you guys are able to see it. Okay, see the product service has been opened using IntelliJ. Are you guys able to see IntelliJ ID?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for the confirmation. So here you can see inside pom.xml. So we decided that we'll use Spring Boot 3.5.9. Then this is nothing but the metadata which we provided. We selected JDK 17 as a Java version, and then these are the dependencies which we have added. So Spring Boot starter data JPA to use Spring Boot data JPA. Then this is the web dependency as we are going to deploy or design a web application. This is MySQL connector. Then we added a Lombok, and then this is a test dependency which is used to write the test cases or JNFs. Okay, now here you can see inside src main Java, you can see two folders. One is Java and the other is the resources. Inside application properties, you can see spring.application.name. So you can see the product service as the name of application. Now let me provide some dependencies. Sorry, some properties related to database connection. What I'll do, I have two properties which I'll use here. Okay. So here I'm using server.port. So this is the port on which my application will run. Now these are the database related properties. So this is the URL where my database is running, username and password. Then I'm using MySQL. So I need to mention MySQL driver name. And then these properties are related to JPO AppNet settings. So this DDL auto is to update, means if your table is not available, it will create the table. If the table is available, it will use the same table. And then Spring JPA dot show SQL is nothing but just to show the SQL queries which are being executed in the backend on the console. So it will just display these queries on the console. Okay, and this is the entry point for your application execution. So you can simply start this application by clicking here. Okay, now first thing is when we design application, I will create the packaging. So I'll just quickly create a different packages. So first is controller, where we are going to write the REST endpoints. Then we'll design one more which will be service, where we are going to write the business logic. And then we'll create one more where we are going to write database related calls or database related code. Then we'll have one which will be used as a entity where we are going to place the plain Java objects. Okay, now we are going to create product service related operations, right? So what I will do, I'll create one entity with the class name as product. Okay, now this is going to be my entity. So I'll design this using an annotation, which is at direct entity. So this entity annotation indicates that you are going to relate this product class with a table inside your database with name as product. Okay, then I'll use that direct data annotation, which is basically used to reduce the boilerplate code like getter setters. Then I can use all argument constructor. Even I can use no argument constructor. Okay, now what we are going to do, we are going to take some properties related to product. So I have properties, let me check. Okay, so I'll just add those properties here. Okay, So here we are going to take product ID. We'll have product name, we'll have product price, and we'll have product stock. These are the minimal properties which will be required for our application implementation. Okay. Now this add direct ID indicates this is going to be the primary key for your record or for this particular object. And how we are going to generate this primary key will be decided using this annotation add direct generated value. So here I'm going to mention that I'm going to ask Hibernate that decide whatever you want. So this is generation type.auto, which indicates that Hibernate will automatically decide what strategy should be used to generate the value for this product ID. And then we have product name, price, and stock. Now you don't need to write data setters because we have used add direct data annotations. Okay, now I'm done with the design of your product. Next thing is what I will do, I'll create one repository which will be product repository. I'll create a interface which will be product repository. Okay, and it will extend your JPA repository. So this JPA repository is generic, so you need to mention the type. So here you need to mention the product as a type. So it should be product. Okay. And the primary key. So let me check what is the primary key. So it is of type integer. I'll mention the type as integer. Okay. For now, I'm not going to write any code which will interact with the database because this JPA repository provides you at least basic functions which will be required to perform cloud operations like saving entity into a database or getting product by ID or get all the products which are there in your database or delete a product or update a product. So I'm not going to write anything here. Now I'm done with the product repository and product entity. Next thing is we'll write some operations inside service. So I'll design product service. Okay. So I'll annotate this using a direct service because we'll need a bean of this product service. Okay, now next thing is we need to create a product, right? So what we'll do, we'll take the product information from client. So again, I'll design one Java class with the name as product request detail. So this is basically a data transfer object. Okay, and what I will do, I'll simply copy all the fields from here. So I don't need ID, product ID from client because I'll be generating that product ID or Hibernate will generate that product ID as it is. And then we'll use the annotations like add direct data, add direct no argument constructor, add direct all argument constructor. So guys, if you are not able to understand this, I'm assuming this you guys have basic idea about Spring Boot. But if you are not able to understand, please stop me there only and you can clear your doubts. Okay. Now I got this product request detail. So this is basically used to transfer data from your client to, or it is basically used as a data transfer object. Okay. Now at service layer, what I will do, I'll write a method which will be used to create the product. So you write method public. Then when I create a product, I'll send the product information back to the client. Write a method name as create product. Now this product information should be taken from the client. So I'll use that product request DTO here. Product request DTO, and I'll use product request DTO. Okay. Now what we need to do, we need to take the information from this product request DTO and we need to save that information into database. But at database, what we need to save? We need to save the product. So I'll create an object of product, something like this, product equal to new product. Okay. And then I'll set the details for this product, which is coming from outside. So product dot set name, and I'll take that name from the name which is coming from your request DTO, basically from the client. So I'll set that. Same thing I'll do for product.set price, and it will be product request dto.get price, and then product dot set stock, and it will be the stock which is supplied or passed by your client. So it will be get. Okay, now I got my product entity which I can save into database. For that, I'll need an instance of product repository. So what I will do, I'll create an instance product repository here. So it will be product repository. And what I will do, I'll use a direct auto-wire to inject that instance, and then I will use product repository dot save. And this takes a parameter which is nothing but your entity. So it will save that product information. And if you see, it returns the product which is saved. So I'll extract it into a variable and I'll make it as saved product. Okay, and I'll simply return this saved product. So even I can return here only. So I can directly return this instead of having two lines, I can return it here. So this will basically return the product which is saved into database. Okay, now I can design another API which will be used to, or I can design another method to get a list of products. So what I will do, I'll quickly create public list of, so we'll need all the products. So I'll use list of products. Let me import this list and get all products. Okay, and here what we'll do, we'll simply return product repository dot find all. So this will return me a list of all the products. Okay, so we are done with at least basic two APIs. Now, when if client needs to execute this function, he won't be able to execute directly, right? So for that, we'll write APIs and we'll write those APIs inside controller. So I'll design one class product controller where we are going to write the REST APIs. So here I'm going to use REST controller to write the REST APIs where your requests will come, or basically your request will land into this class. And now I'll design the API. So I can use a base URL, something like /product. So this will be the base URL, and then we'll write one method which will be used to create the product. So public product create product. Okay, and here I'm to take the product information from client. For that we have designed product request DTO. So I will pass that product request DTO here, and then what I need to do, I need to simply give a call to your product service. For that I'll create an instance of product service. So it is product service. Okay, I need to inject it. So I'll use @auto-wired notation to inject this, and then I'll simply give a call using product service dot create a product, and I'll pass the product request DTO which is coming from outside. Okay, and I'll simply return the product which is created or which is saved into database. Is there anything missing here? Anyone?
I mean, like, we need to call that, right?
Yes. So to call this a method, we should have one
Method
API, right?
level annotation.
Yes. So I can use an annotation. As we are going to create a resource on the server, I'll use post mapping. So this post mapping is basically a combination of your direct post and a request mapping annotation. And I'll simply use this with empty, or I can use something like create. Okay, product slash create. And now how your client or how your code will understand that this will be mapped with your JSON which you are going to pass from the Postman. For that, I need to mention this product request TTO is going to be my request body. That I'll use an annotation like a direct request body. Okay, so this class will be mapped with the request body which is coming from the client. And then we had another API which was used to get a list of all products. So I'll simply copy this as it is and I'll paste it here. But here instead of product service, it will be product service dot get all products. Okay, again, yes,
At the red get.
yes.
Sorry.
Again, we need to execute this function on a API. So I'll write add get mapping for this, and you can mention a endpoint. So I'm mentioning slash all as endpoint. So I will get all the products which are there in our database. Okay, I hope this is fine now. So what I will do, I'll just try to run this application. So to run that application, what I'll do, I'll come here inside product service application and I'll try to run it. So I'll just enable the annotation processing that is explicitly required in your IntelliJ. But if you are using IDE, something like Eclipse, you don't need to enable anything manually. Okay, so you can see these kind of queries which are getting executed, and this kind of queries are getting displayed because of this property. Okay, so it is creating a table, it is creating a product sequence, and it is just adding a value inside that particular sequence. Okay, so my application is started on port 8081. So what I will do, I'll open Postman. Let me know if you are able to see the Postman. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. Now we'll need to execute the API, or basically we'll try to create some products. Okay. So here I'll use the HTTP method as post. Then I'll use HTTP :/ and our application is running on local host :8081 / products / we have mentioned create as an endpoint to create the product. Okay, now to create a product, we need to provide the product information, and we provide that information as a part of body. I'll come here, select the body. We are going to select the raw data, and here the format will be JSON. Now you know that JSON will be wrapped inside your curly brackets, and we need to provide the data, something like the information which we are taking as a part of request. It will be name, price, and stock. So I'll make the name and consider the name is Apple. Okay, then the price can be something like this one, and then we'll have stock and consider the stock is 1000. So I'll make the price as 1900, something like this. Okay, I'm not going to say this. Okay, so once I provide this information, ideally this information should be saved into my database. So now I'll just hit this API, and you can see the information which is saved into a database is returned, and we can verify this from here. So we have a table with product, and if I fire the query, I'll be able to see the product information. Right. Similarly, I can create another product. So instead of Apple, I'll make it as Samsung, and I'll make the price as 1,500. Again, stock can be something like 800. And if I send the request, I should be able to see the product. Okay, and we can verify it from database as well. So you can see both the products are created. Right. Now we have designed one more API to get a list of all products. So we can even execute that API to see the list of products. So we are using get mapping. So we should be use get. And you can see I have received both the products which are there into database. Is this clear now, guys? Any question on this part?
So
Anyone?
where is API gateway here?
No, API gateway is not yet into picture. So
Okay.
we'll see API gateway tomorrow, how exactly your request will go through your API gateway. So we are directly calling these APIs for now, but tomorrow it will be the IP address of API gateway instead of this localhost 8081.
Where do we give
Sorry, can you please repeat?
where do we give that IP address?
Yeah, so here, this is the IP address where my product service is running. Okay, so now we are directly calling product service, but when we will use API gateway, will not use the URL of product service, but still the call will go to your product service and order service. So we'll see that in tomorrow's session.
Okay.
Okay, now we are done with the product service. So there should be one more API where we have to update the stock, right? So when someone places the order, so we should be able to update the stock, right? So if I place an order with 100 as a quantity, then I should be able to reduce the stock from this 800. It should become 700. So we can write that API. So I'll come here inside product service. I can write an API something like this, public. So when I update the stock, I will basically return the product with updated stock and then pass update stock. Now to update the stock, what information I'll need? First thing is I'll need product ID. So I'll take product ID. What else? I'll need the quantity as well. I'll take quantity. Anything else do you think will be required? Anyone?
Price.
Sorry.
Okay. I thought price might change. Like discount can be.
So that is not actually required in our case. So we are going to simply place the order. So when we place the order, we'll see if the product is available or not. If the product is available, we'll simply reduce the stock for that particular, or we'll update the stock for that particular product, and we'll simply return the updated stock. So what I will do here now, first thing is we need to check whether the product is available or not. For that, I can use product repository dot find by ID. So here I will pass the product ID. Okay. Now I got the product, and then I can get the product using get function, because this find by ID will return me an optional. And from that optional, I can get the product information using get. So what I can do, I can simply extract into a variable product. Now I got the product. Next thing the product is available, what we need to do? We need to simply reduce the stock. So we'll consider happy scenarios. We are not going to write complex logic. Now I got the product. I need to reduce the stock from that particular product. So what I will do? So I'll get the product stock using product.get stock, and I'll reduce it by quantity. So I'll minus quantity from that stock. So it will become my balance. So it will be balance stock. Correct. So I got the stock of that product. Consider it is 800. I am placing an order for 100 quantity. 800 minus 700, sorry, 100, it becomes 700, which will be inside this balance stock. And then what I will do, I'll just update that stock. So product dot set stock, and it will be 700. Okay, and then again I'll simply save that product. So product repository dot set. Okay, and it will be the product which we have updated. Okay, and I'm simply going to return that product which is updated one. Okay, so what we did here, we simply tried to find the product. So we got the product. Now the product is available. We took the stock, or we retrieved the stock of that particular product using get stock method, and then we reduced the order quantity. Okay, so I'll just rename this to be order quantity. Order quantity. Okay, now I got the balance stock, and ideally it should be balance stock, not 700. Right, now the stock is updated.
Can
Now
you
we
show
need to
what is
execute.
Can
Sorry.
can you show what is there in the get stock method in product?
Yeah, get stock will return the stock, right? So this is the stock of your product, right? So this value will be returned by your product. This is just a getter. So you
That's
can
number
see.
of products in that stock.
Yes.
Annotation you have to use. Parameter
Sorry.
annotation.
I'm not able to hear you properly. Can you please repeat? Hello.
Is the annotation you have to use request form like that.
Yeah. So to write that API, we can design an API where we are going to take that information to call
Yeah,
this
okay.
update stock. Yeah. So here I'll simply write the method. So public, I'm going to return the updated product, and I'll write the method name as update stock. Okay. Now, what is the information which will be required? So I need product ID and order quantity. I'll copy these details from here and paste it here. Okay. And then simply I'll give call to my product service dot update stock. And here we have product ID and order quantity. Okay, so this will basically update the product, and it will return the updated product. Now we need to take this product ID and order quantity. So we can use either query param, or you can simply use the path variables. That is perfectly fine. So here I'll use add direct put mapping because we are updating, and then you can take the URL, something like you can use URL like this, or you can use query params or path params. Okay, so I'll use query param. So you can use an annotation like add direct query param, isn't it there? I think it is request param. Okay, and then here also I'll use request param. Okay, so request param is basically used to accept your query parameters. This is product ID and order quantity. So I need to make sure that I'm passing correct names or correct spellings for this product ID and order quantity. Okay, and I'll use some endpoint, something like update. Okay, now I'm done with this. So I'll just reload my application and let us see if it works. Okay, so our application is started on 8081. Now we'll update a product. So what I will do, I'll just copy the existing details here. Okay, and here you need to pass the information. So we have product ID. So I'll copy this product ID name as it is. Consider product ID is 1, and I need to pass the order quantity. So I'll copy this and pass it here. So consider I'm going to place an order for 100 quantities. Let me just verify. So we have product ID 1 with stock as 1000. So when I basically place an order, so I should be able to update this stock. And I'll send the request. Okay, so it is put mapping. So it should be put, and I'll send the request. So you can see the stock has been updated. It is 900 now. And if I go here and verify, so you can see the stock is 900. Again, if I place the order, it should be reduced by 100, and you can see the stock has been reduced to 800, and it should be again 800 here as well. Okay, so our update API is also working fine. Next thing is we need to design the order service, which will be used to place the order. Okay, so again, I'll quickly come here. So we'll select same thing. We'll use Java as a programming language, project as my one build tool, then Spring Boot 3.5.9. Instead of product service, we'll make it as order service, and then we'll keep the rest of the things as it is. So we'll be using Spring Web, MySQL driver, Data GPA, and Lombok. Okay. Now I got my order service. I'll simply load it here. Okay, my order service is open inside IntelliJ now. Are you guys able to see my IntelliJ with order service?
Yes, now we can.
Okay.
No, but it's showing product service. Oh, now it's showing order service.
Okay. Now we have to place the order, right? So I'll design an API which will help us to place the order. So here what I will do, I'll again come back here. You can see in form.xml the details which we provided there while creating the project. So you can see Spring Boot version as 3.5.9, then the project metadata which we updated there. Then we had selected JDK 17, and these are the dependencies. So Spring Boot Starter Data JPA to use JPA repository. Is we are going to create a web application, so we need Spring Boot Starter Web. Then we had MySQL connector for MySQL database connection, and we use Lombok to avoid the boilerplate code. and this is the test dependency to add or write join tests. And here inside resources, I can see application properties. So again, I need to pass the database related information. So I'll use same database information here. Now what I will do, I'll make server.port as 8082 to run this my order service. This is the database URL, username and password, and the MySQL driver. And these are the Hibernate properties to create or update the table and show the SQL queries from the console. And this is nothing but the entry point where your application will start, or from which your application will start. Now we need to design the similar things to perform operation where we are going to place the order. So what I will do, I'll quickly create some packages. So first one is controller, where we are going to write the REST API endpoints. Then we'll create another, which is service. Then we'll create one for repository. Then there will be one for entity, and I can create one for DTO as well. So DTO. Okay, fine. Now we should have order information which we are going to store into a database. So I'll create one Java class for that. Okay. Now I have few fields for that particular order. So what information we need? We need basically order ID, quantity, amount, and product ID to search that product. So I'll just add those things here. So you can see, so direct entity, and I'll use a direct table annotation because this order is a keyword inside your database. To sort the records, we normally use order by ASC or DSC. That's the reason I won't be able to create a table with the keyword or a result keyword. So I mentioned the table name as orders. Okay, so let's import this. Then this direct ID denotes your primary key, and here I can even mention that use auto to generate automatically the value for your order ID. Then we are going to take the quantity from user to place the order. We'll calculate the total amount. So instead of amount, I'll make it as total amount. Total amount. And we are going to have the product ID as well. So we'll use product ID, or we'll take the product ID from client. Okay, so even I can design a request DTO which will be used to take the information. So I'll make it as order request DTO. And here we need to use the annotations like a direct data. Then you can use a direct all argument constructor if you need a constructor with all arguments, and you can use no argument constructor if you need a constructor without argument. And I can take this information from the client. So I can design this, and here I can use a direct data. I need a direct all argument constructor and direct no argument constructor. Okay, I don't think this will be required, but let us see. Because we are going to calculate the total amount, I'll not need this total amount. I'm going to take quantity and product ID. So even we can take that information as a part of query parameter. So I don't think we'll need this class. Okay. Now here I'll come inside repository and we'll create one interface. Okay, so I'll select order repository. Okay, which will extend your JPA repository so that we will be able to perform CRUD operations without writing SQL queries or hard-coded API calls, database calls. So it is, as it is generic, we need to provide the entity name and its primary keys data type. Okay, I'm done with the order repository. Next thing is service layer. So I'll create one Java class. So it will be order service. Okay, I'll annotate this using a direct service annotation because we will need the dependency of this order service. Now we might need the order repository. So I'll design one order repository interface, so instance, and we'll instantiate it using auto wired annotation. Okay, now we need to write a method which will basically place the order. So when I place the order, I should get the order information back. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll write one API. So it will be something like public, and we are going to return the order information. So I'll use order as a return type, and then I'll write method name as place order. Okay, now to place that order, what we need quantity. So it will be order quantity, and what else we need order ID, right? So integer, sorry, it should be product ID. Okay, now we got the product ID and order quantity. Now we need to save this information into a database when we place the order. So what I will do, I'll create an instance of order. So it will be order equal to new order, and now I'll set the information. So order dot set product ID will be my product ID. For this particular product, I'm going to place the order, and then order dot set quantity. So it will be my order quantity. Okay, and then order dot set total. Now, how can I set the total amount? So it will be my order quantity into price, right? But we don't have the price, right? And that price will be available from your product, correct?
Yeah,
So
that-
yeah, so here we'll need to basically give a call to your product service, get the price, or basically get the product and set the price. So here give a call to your product service, get the product and get the product, get the product price, and then calculate the total amount as price into order quantity. So we need to basically perform these 4 operations, correct? So what I will do, I'll simply declare one variable here. Now we will need the product entity as well, because when we will give a call to product service, we will get the response, which is nothing but your product, right? So I'll copy the product entity from here as it is, and I'll paste it inside this. Okay, so now we don't need this one. So even I can basically, I don't need this here. I'll simply cut this from here and I'll paste it inside this product. Because now I don't need database table for this. Okay, so I don't need this one. Okay, so here inside order service, what I will do, I'll simply create a dummy product before going to product service. I'll simply create a dummy product. We'll set some information for this product. assuming that we are getting this response, and we'll just test this API. If it works well, then we'll give a call to product service and get the actual information. I'll set that product dot set product ID as 1, product dot set product name as Apple. I think we don't need this one, but it's fine. Product dot set stock as 100 and set it, and then let's see, is there anything else which is pending? I think price. So the product price is consider. So we had 1900, right? So I'll just keep that as it is. Okay, so consider this is the product which I'll get when I invoke the product service. Okay, now I got this product. So what I will do, I got the product. Now I'll get the price from that product. So it will be product.price. And then I'll simply calculate the total amount. So it will be something like integer total amount equal to order quantity multiplied by product dot get price. Okay, and then I'm going to set that total amount here, and then we'll save that into database. So it will be order repository dot save, and I'll pass the order which we have here. Okay. Yes.
Actually, right now we have from the line 25 to 31, you have hard coded the values, right? So
Yes.
otherwise, if not hard coding, what should we do for this?
Yeah.
Like
So
if
we
we
are going
want the
to, yes, we are going to remove this code when we'll give a call to product service to get the product information. So I have
where
just hard
do
coded this, but in next 10-15 minutes, I'm going to remove this and will
okay.
give a call to product service using REST template, and we'll fetch the product information, and then we'll set that product information here.
So that is a REST template means like what
REST
do we call this?
template,
Like one service to
yeah.
service to
So
service communication,
communication,
right?
yes. So for
Okay, is
service to
that
service
service discovery different?
sorry.
So this is like order service communicates with the product service
Correct.
communicate with the REST template.
Yes.
Is service discovery different from this?
Yeah, service discovery will come into picture later. That is totally different entity. So that is used to
Totally different.
discover all the services which are registered with that discovery service.
Okay, but that also helps in communicating with one service to other, or
Yes.
only
Yeah, that
related.
helps us to get the product service or the services which are registered with that service, information about the services which are registered with the discovery service. So for now, we'll use the hard-coded URLs along with REST
REST.
template. And once we have service discovery,
Okay,
we'll design it using service name,
service
or we'll
discovery.
give a call to service using service name. Okay. So now I'm done with the creation of order, and I'm saving this order into database. Okay. Now I need to call this method from somewhere. So what I will do, I'll simply copy the signature as it is, and I'll go inside controller. We'll create one class which is order controller. Okay. Now this will be my REST controller where all the endpoints will be available, and again I'll use one base request mapping with slash order. So this will be a kind of base URL. I need to design the API to place the order. So I'll use the method as it is from there. Okay, now I'm going to use order quantity and a product ID, which is coming from the client. Now we will use a direct post mapping because we are going to place the order, and we'll design endpoint, something like that, place order, or something like this. So this, when customer invokes or client invokes this endpoint, it will call this method, and from here the call should go to your order service and execute this API. So what I will do, I'll simply create an instance of my order service. So it should be private order service, and then this is order service. Okay, now I need to inject this. I'll use a direct auto-wire to inject this order service, and then I'll give a call to order service dot place order, where we are going to pass order quantity and product ID. Okay, is there anything I'm missing here? So we need to take order quantity and product ID from outside, right? So I should use an annotation, which is a direct request param, that we are going to use query parameters to provide this information. Okay, now once I place this order, this information will be saved into my database. Okay, now what I'll simply start this application and see. I'll just enable the annotation processing. So you can see the table has been created with name as orders. Now the application is started on port 8082. So I'll come here and I'll simply copy this URL as it is. Yeah. So 8082 slash orders slash place order. Okay. Now we are going to place the order with order quantity and product ID. So I'll come back to this order service. Here we have, I'll go back to order controller. So we need to take the product ID and order quantity. So I'll take product ID as 1 and the order quantity something like 100 or 400. And I'll make the order quantity as 150. Okay. Now I'm done with this. So if I send this, it should simply, okay, so it is post mapping, so it should be post. It should simply create an order. Like as you can see, the total amount is calculated. We placed 150 as order quantity for product ID, which is 1. Okay, and we can see that here inside orders table. So this is the order which we have placed. But if you see this product, it is not changed anything because we have dummy data. We have not updated anything inside product service. We just created one record inside this, and you can see the total amount has been calculated. Next thing is, now we need to give a call to product service, fetch the product information and update that product details. Okay, for that, now what we are going to use REST template. So REST template is a class which is used to consume the REST APIs, or basically for service to service communication. Now to get that REST template, I basically need a bean of REST template. So here I'm going to write public. I need a bean of REST template. So I'll use the REST template as a return type, and I'll simply say that get a REST template. And here I'm going to return that REST template. So here it will be return new REST template. Okay, and then I can use a direct bean because I need a bean of REST template. So if I use a direct auto wire, I should get the bean of REST template. Okay, so here inside order service, now what I will do, I will inject that particular bean. So I will use the REST template, or I can make it something like private rest template and then rest template. I, I need to inject that bin. So I'll use a direct auto wired to inject this rest template. Now we should know where my product service is running, right? To have that information, what I will do, I'll declare one variable of type string, and it will be a product service URL. So where my product service is running, my product service is running on localhost :8081 slash products, right? So this is the base URL where my product service is running. So it is running on localhost :8081, and we have appended this slash products as base URL using request mapping. Okay, so I need this URL to communicate with product service. Now I got the product service URL. So what I need to do, I need to use REST template dot, there is a method which is REST template dot exchange. So what I will do, I'll use REST template dot exchange method. Okay, this method takes few parameters. The first parameter is the URL. Okay, so I'm going to pass the URL as product service base URL. Then the next parameter is the HTTP method which we need to use. So it is going to be HTTP method dot get, because we need to get the product information, right? And then you need to pass the HTTP entity where you can pass the information like request header or request body. For now, we don't need to pass anything like request header. So I'm going to pass it as null. And when I execute that API, I'll be able to get the response. And that response is nothing but what kind of response we are going to get when we execute that API. It will be of type product. So it will be product dot class. So this is the response type which I'm going to get. And when I get that response, basically I get response entity which contains information about your this response. You can see the status code, request body, request response header. So I don't need everything, I just need body. So I can use dot get body. Okay, and this will give me the body, and I can extract this inside a variable which is nothing but product one or product. Okay, so I can basically use this product here, and now I'll remove this product. Okay, so this is how basically one service is going to call the other service. Okay, now this will give a call to your product service URL. But if you see this product service URL, it is slash product slash. So we need to pass the product ID as well, right? Here we are passing the product ID. So if I execute this API, okay, products not found. Let me check if we have an API which will give us the information by ID. Okay, it is not there. Do we have designed it? Get product by ID. Okay, so we have not designed it, but I'll quickly design that endpoint. Public product get product by ID, and here we need to pass the product ID. So it will be product ID. And what I need to do, I need to simply do this product repository dot find by ID, and I'll get this product information, and I'll simply return that information. Okay, so here I'll get the product, and what I will do, I'll simply copy this as it is inside controller layer, and we'll write one endpoint to get the product information. So here I'll use product service dot get product by ID, and I'll pass the product ID. And again, here I can use add direct request param, or even I can simply use add direct get mapping with slash product ID. And I need to bind this ID. Yes, Dinesh.
Can we use path variable as well as path variable. And what is the
Yes.
difference between the request parameter and path variable?
Yeah. So here I'm going to use path variable. Okay. So this path variable is nothing but now if I execute or if I need to pass the information as a part of path. Okay. So you can see this is the path, right? So if I need to pass that information
Yeah.
as a part of path, you can go with path variable. If you want to pass that information as a query parameters, then you can use a direct request parameter. So you can see the query parameters are available here. So that is the basic difference between
Oh,
path variable and request param. Okay.
yeah. On the
Now
both,
I
basically we have to pass that request parameter, right? In the post name,
mm,
in the URL, and the param section as well.
yes, correct.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Now I'll simply give a call to the product service and I'll get the product information. Okay. Now I'll simply rerun the application and see if it works. Okay. The application is started on 8081. Now consider I need to get the information for particular product, right? So in this case, I don't need body because I'm writing a get API. Body is required when you are writing put or post APIs. Now to get the information about a particular product by product ID, it is saying not found. Let me check what is wrong. So product ID, we have passed product slash product ID. Is there anything missing? So let me check all the products. So we have product ID as 1 and product ID as 2, right? So it should work. Why it is not working? Okay, so we have get mapping slash product ID. So we got the product ID and we have passed the same product ID here. Do you guys see anything wrong here? Okay, so inside product service, get product by ID. So let me rerun the application again. So it is started on 8081 and product slash 2. It is still saying not found. Here I don't see any error. Okay, so we'll stop the application again and we'll run it in debug mode just to see what is happening. So get mapping for this all is okay. So we are actually passing this incorrectly. It should be inside your curly brackets because that is dynamic, right? So I'll just pass this inside curly brackets and then it should work now because this product ID should be inside your curly brackets. This is dynamic part. Again, now the application is started on 8081 and if I search now, I should get, okay, so I can see the product information now. So if I send it again, you can see I'm getting product information. Now I got the product information. So we have that API ready. Now inside order service, what I will do, I need to form that URL here, right? So it should be product service URL So I'll update that URL equal to product service URL plus, so it should be slash plus. Now we need to attach the product ID. So I'll copy that product ID. Now we got the product service URL, something like this /1. So it will be your product service URL, then slash. Okay. Yeah, so it should not be double one. So I'll just remove that one. And then we have attached the product ID. So it will basically give a call to your product service and will try to find the product. Now you got the product. So what we did here, we used RestTemplate.exchange method to give a call to your product service using the product service URL, or basically the API. We mentioned what kind of that API is. It is GET API. So we mentioned HTTP method as GET. We are not passing anything as a part of request body or request header. So we pass that request entity as null. And what kind of response we are going to get when we execute that API? It is basically product type of response, so product.class. And then we use get body to extract the body from that response entity. Now I got the product. Now once I get the product, what I'll do, I'll simply get the price for that particular product. Okay, I got the price, and then I'm just calculating the total amount. And once I'm done with the calculation of that total amount, I'll set that amount for the order. Now order amount is set. I'm saving that order. Now I am done with the saving of the order. When we basically execute this URL, we'll get the product. Now when we calculate the amount and save the order, so ideally what should happen, the stock from that product should be reduced, right? So what I will do, I'll give one more call to reduce the stock. So what I will do, I'll here give again a call to your product service to update this stock, because that stock should be reduced from there. So again we have REST template dot exchange. Here we have product service URL. Okay, so what I will do, instead of this URL, I'll make it as product service. So it should be product service. I'll make it as base URL, and then I'll use that here product service base URL and get product. I'll make it as string get product by ID URL. Okay, and we'll use this URL. Now here we'll have one more URL which will be basically used to update this stuff. So it will be batch service URL. So I'll make it as update product stock URL. Okay, so it will be batch service URL plus. Now we need to form that URL. So let us see what is that URL. So this is the one which we had, right? So I'll just copy this and I'll paste it here. Right, so it should be base URL plus slash update slash. So it is not slash, it is question mark, because we are using query parameter. Then product ID. So I'll just keep this as it is, equal to, this is my product ID, plus this is my ampersand and order quantity. So I'll use this ampersand order quantity equal to, I'll append the order quantity here. Okay, now I'm done with the formation of the URL. And then what I will do, I'll use REST template.exchange execute this API, and this is nothing but my put API. So HTTP method dot put, comma, I'm not going to pass anything as a part of request entity. And when I update it, I'm basically getting a product, right? So it will be again product dot class. And then I need to get the body from that response entity. So I'll use get body. Okay, and I'll extract it into a variable. So I'll make it as updated product, as we are not going to use it, so we'll keep it as it is. Okay, and then we'll simply save the order. So we got the updated product. So that is basically updating the product information. Okay, and now I'm done with the saving of the order. So what I'll stop the application and I'll run it. So have we designed the API here? Okay, so we have the API ready. Okay, so the application is started on 8082. Now we'll place the order. So again, I can use the same product ID, or even I can use another product ID, and I'll place the order quantity as 50. So if you see inside product, so we have product with ID 2 and we have stock 800. Now if I place the order as 50, the stock should become 750, right? And we should see one more order getting placed inside orders table. Okay, let's try to execute this. I guess we can see the order has been placed. The stock is 750. Let me see what we are returning. We are returning the order information. Sorry, we have executed a wrong API. So it is to update the stock. So we need to execute this API. So we are going to place the order for, let us consider product ID 2. Now we have 750 as a stock. So if I place order for 150, it should update the stock as 600, and we should be able to see one more entry inside order table. I'll send this. I can see the order is placed with order ID as 2. Order quantity is 150. Total amount is 22,500,000, 2,25,000, and this is the product ID. Now if I go here inside product table, so you can see the stock for this, it was 750 earlier, which is reduced to 600, and you can see inside orders table I got one more order with this one TH quantity. Okay, now if I make the quantity as consider 50 and place one more order, so I should be able to see the updated quantity and one more entry for order. So you can see the order ID, the quantity is 50, total amount is calculated as 75,000, and the the product for which we place the order. Okay, and if I go here inside database, so earlier it was 600, now it is 550, and you can see one more entry for this particular order. Okay, so our one service is communicating with another service using a REST template. So what we did here, we simply created a bean for your REST template, because I need a bean of REST template to communicate with another service. This is basically a product service. Now to call that particular product service, what I did here, I used a REST template dot exchange method. Okay, and here I'm passing the URL. What kind of method I'm going to invoke? If there is something like request header or request body, you can pass that as a part of request entity. And then what kind of response I'm going to get? is mentioned here. Once you get that product, you simply took the price from that product, multiplied it with your order quantity, and you are done. You just calculated the total amount and set it. Okay. Any question here? Anyone? Are you guys able to follow? So if you have any question, we can discuss it. Okay. Okay, so I'll take it as no question from anyone. So we are done with creation of these two services. Okay. The next thing tomorrow, what we are going to do is we are going to design one API gateway and discovery service. So now what we are doing, we are invoking these services using localhost colon 8082, localhost colon 8081. But tomorrow, what I'm going to do, I'm going to design one API gateway and I'm going to execute these APIs through the IP address of your API gateway. So it will not be 8081 or 8082. It will be the IP address of my API gateway, and at that API gateway, I'm going to write some configuration which will redirect your calls to either product service or your order service. Okay, and now we have hard coded this URL, right? Tomorrow, if I start my application, product service application on 8083, so what I will need to do, I'll need to restart my order service as well because I'm changing the code. Yes, Dinesh.
Can you just again brief that exchange method of the REST template? What
Yes.
all the things we have to provide there?
Yes. So consider you have to consume an API or you have to give a call to third party API. Okay. To execute that API, what information you need? Consider I have to execute this API. To execute this API, what I need, I should have the URL, right? I should know
Yeah,
what the API or what is the URL which I need to invoke. That is one thing. Next thing is you need to
yeah,
have the information about what will be the method type. So it is HTTP GET method or put method or delete method or post method. So all the method types you can see here. So I should know what kind of method it is. Okay, this is second thing. Now if you
okay.
need to pass something like you can see here authorization, headers, body, right? So you need to know if you
Mm-hmm.
need something like body or headers or authorization you need to pass as a part of request, right? This is minimum information which is
Yeah,
required to execute an API. Okay, and now you should
okay.
know what kind of response you are going to get, right? Even if you don't know, you can use object because that is super class of everything, right? So you can get that response as object, but at least this is the minimum information which you need to pass when you need to execute an API, right? Now to call this API, what I have done, I have simply used a RestTemplate.exchange method and I'm passing this information here. So this is the URL which I need to invoke. I know I'm going to use or execute HTTP GET method, right?
Yeah,
Then I don't
okay.
need to pass anything as a part of authorization header or body. So I have
Mm-hmm.
passed test request and test null. And I'm sure that I will get product type of information when I'll execute that API. So I used product.class as a return type. Now this will return me a response entity. Response entity in the sense I'll get this kind of response. There you can see the HTTP status code. 200. It means your
Okay.
request is successful. Even you can see this is the response body, right? You can see response headers as well here. There might be some cookies inside your response. So I don't need everything from here, right? I simply need a response body. So what I did here, I used dot get body function to get response body from that response entity. And simply I assign that information or put that information into product.
Yeah. Yeah. So we like fetched only gate body. So other things as well we can fetch, right?
Yes, you can fetch the other things as well. Now, if you see, so there can be other things like get body, then get status code. So the status code which you can see here, so that can be uh, retrieved using dot get status code. You can see the get headers. So basically, the response header which you are going to get as a part of that response.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you'll get this information and then you can use that information for further operations. Okay, so we are done with the creation of these two services. In tomorrow's session, we'll try to design one API gateway, one discovery service. We'll see how your client is calling your order service or product service through your API gateway, and we'll remove this hard-coded URLs, and instead of this hard-coded URLs, what we will do, we'll use just service name. So I will not use this one. Instead of this, it will be simply product, something like this, product hyphen service, and I should be able to call. So tomorrow, if someone is changing the URL instead of localhost 8081, if he makes 8085, then I should not bother or I should not be worried about it. Okay, fine, guys. So I think we can stop here if there are no more questions. Or we have 10 minutes. If you have any question, we can discuss it.